How's it going, everybody? Wayne here. Today we have 9 games that we'll be adding to the collection, and I already had the boxes for these games. I just found the cartridges on my vacation to the States, so let's check them out. The first game up I found at a flea market, and that game is Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 was developed and published by Capcom, releasing for the N64 in 1999. Resident Evil 2 is a survival horror game. You first choose which character you want to play as, Leon or Claire. Each character experiences different puzzles and scenarios. As you make your way through the game, you run into zombies, monsters, and meet new people. You'll have to find your way through large areas with many doors and elevators, find items to advance, and ultimately try to escape the city. The game is a lot of fun. The PlayStation version came out nearly 2 years earlier, but the N64 version had enhanced graphics and new features. One of the best new features is the randomizer. You could use this mode when playing through the game a second time. The items in the game would be hidden in different places throughout the levels. You could also change how much gore you wanted to see, and you could change the color of the blood. The major downfall of the game is the camera angles and controls. It consistently shifts views, making you run into walls or even enemies you couldn't see. There is an option to change the controls around, which does help out a lot. Resident Evil 2 is definitely worth adding to the collection if you like survival horror games. Resident Evil 2 is game number 170 for the collection, and the cartridge cost me $25, bringing our total up to $8,660 for the collection. Next up, a Pokemon game, Pokemon Stadium 2. Pokemon Stadium 2 was developed and published by Nintendo, releasing for the N64 in North America in 2001. In Japan, the game is called Pokemon Gold and Silver, as it was the third Pokemon Stadium game in the series. Japan's first Pokemon Stadium game never made a release in the US. Pokemon Stadium 2 is a Pokemon battle game. You can choose Quick Play, which lets you battle right away. In Quick Play, you'll be matched with an opponent and choose 3 Pokemon to battle with. While fighting, there are attacks and defense moves you can choose from using the C buttons. Each attack affects Pokemon in different ways. Some attacks are powerful. They take out opponents in one hit. Other attacks may miss altogether. I've never played the Pokemon games before, but I quickly started learning the strategy in this game. I learned which players were effective and ineffective against certain Pokemon. The game is a blast. I was having a lot of fun just selecting different Pokemon to see what their abilities were. There's also a tournament mode where you can battle for championships. Finally, there's a 2-player mode. I can't speak for hardcore Pokemon fans on how this game fares for a Pokemon game, but I could see myself battling it out with a friend in 2-player mode for a few hours. Pokemon Stadium 2 is a fun game to have in the collection. Pokemon Stadium 2 is game number 171 for the collection, and I actually won this cartridge off eBay when I was in the States, and I won it for $28 shipped, and that brings our total up to $8,688 for the N64 Complete in Box Quest. Next up, we have a sports game, and that game is Madden 2000. Madden 2000 was developed and published by EA Sports, releasing for the N64 in 1999. Madden 2000 brought for better graphics and far less choppiness than Madden 99. This game offered a traditional mode and an arcade mode. The gameplay and controls are good. I was able to pick out the plays I wanted to do and execute them easier than in previous football games we covered. However, Madden 2000 is far from perfect. It has a lot of the same flaws from other football games as well. Flaws like players moving in unison, your team not blocking the defense well enough, and your offense not wanting to catch your ball. However, it's still a decent football game for the N64. If you're a fan of sports games on the N64, Madden 2000 will satisfy your needs. It's also extremely easy to find, especially if you look in retro game store junk sections. Madden 2000 is game number 172 for the library, and it cost me a whopping $2, bringing our total up to $8,690. Next up, we have Twisted Edge Extreme Snowboarding. Twisted Edge was developed by Boss Game Studios and published by Midway. It released for the N64 in 1998. If you've seen my other N64 Complete in Box Quest videos with snowboarding games, you know I consider 1080 the standard for snowboarding games on the N64. Unfortunately for this game, it released after 1080, and it didn't bring as much to the table. The tracks are short, and there isn't a whole lot of challenge. It's hard to crash yourself in Twisted Edge. The snowboarder has one stance. There is no difference between going fast or slow or cornering. In 1080, you'd hit the Z button to crouch and go faster. Letting go of Z would allow you to land better and take sharper turns. In Twisted Edge, you just cruise down the hill and hope you get to the end faster. The graphics aren't great, the gameplay isn't that thrilling, and the flow of the game just feels rushed. It's not a terrible snowboarding game like Big Mountain 2000, but at the same price as 1080, it's no contest. Twisted Edge is game number 173. Twisted Edge is game number 173 for the collection, and the cart cost me $5, bringing our total up to $8,695 for the N64 library. Next up is a game I already had on the shelf, but it was a sealed copy, so I wasn't able to record the gameplay, and I found the cartridge in the States. And that game is Razor Freestyle Scooter. Razor Freestyle Scooter was developed by Shaba Games and published by Crave Entertainment, also known as Ubisoft, and released for the N64 in 2001. What do you get when you take an early fad of scooters and combine it with a Tony Hawk skateboarding gameplay? You get Razor Freestyle Scooter for the N64. There are a ton of biased reviews about this game out there. People have let their own hatred of the scooter fad influence their review of this game negatively. I've seen reviews where this game got a 1 out of 10 and 2 out of 10 in graphics, gameplay, and music. The graphics are cartoony. They are clear and you can make everything out just fine. The music is some hardcore rock music that sounds pretty decent, although it can be muffled at times. Take a listen. I'd say that's far better than 2 out of 10 for music. The gameplay is okay, but it doesn't stack up to any Tony Hawk game. It's definitely not awful or unplayable like some other games on the N64. If you can put the scooter bias aside, Razor isn't a terrible game, and you can find joy with it. However, why settle for Razor when you can play a Tony Hawk skateboarding game? Razor Freestyle Scooter is game number 174 for the collection, and I've already added the sealed copy onto the price counter, so the price is going to remain the same. I'm not going to add the cartridge onto the price counter. Next up we have Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko. Gex 3 was developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Crave Entertainment. It released for the N64 in 1999. Gex 3 is a platforming game and the final game in the Gex series. The N64 only got 2 of the games. In Gex 3, you must rescue Agent Extra, who in real life is Marlise Andrada, which starred in Baywatch and was a Playboy playmate. The game is a lot like the first Gex game we covered, but this one feels more fun. The concept is the same. You go around collecting remote controls and advance through the levels. In each level there are different tasks you must complete to unlock the remotes. The controls are the same as the first game as well. Gex gets around by running, hopping on his tail, ninja kicking, and using his tail to wipe out enemies. There's a lot of cheesy humor in the game, and even trees that sound like Austin Powers when they talk.
Show me the money, baby.
The graphics aren't the best for an N64 platformer, and the camera angles can be a pain at times. But if you like platforming games on the N64, Gex 3 is worth checking out. It's not expensive, and it's a decent platformer. Gex 3 is game number 175 for the collection, and I found the cartridges at Flea Market for $15, and that brings our total up to $8,710. Next up, a Supercross game, Jeremy McGrath Supercross 2000. Jeremy McGrath Supercross 2000 was developed and published by Acclaim, releasing for the N64 in 2000. Jeremy McGrath Supercross 2000, as the name implies, is a Supercross racing game. It's a different game than Supercross 2000, which is also on the N64 and we haven't covered it yet. Jeremy McGrath is an arcade-style Supercross game. The bikes handle the corners well, and it's easy to recover if you take a fall. The music in the game is good. It features The Offspring, so the music matches the gameplay well. The bikes have many customization options, which is nice as well. You can choose from hard or soft suspension, hard tires, sand and mud tires, and you can change the power ratio of the bikes. The customization options aren't just there for show either. They notably change how the bike handles. Another thing in the game that makes things interesting is a track editor. Track editors are always fun to play around with. Overall, Jeremy McGrath is a decent Supercross game. I prefer Excitebike over this game, but I'll probably pop this one in from time to time. Jeremy McGrath's Supercross 2000 is game number 176 for the collection, and the cart cost me $5, and that brings our total up to $8,715 for the N64 Complete in Box Quest. Next up we have a puzzle game, The New Tetris. The New Tetris was developed by H2O Entertainment and published by Nintendo. It released for the N64 in 1999. The New Tetris isn't really a new type of Tetris game at all. Tetrisphere, that we covered earlier in the N64 Complete in Box Quest, brought a much different concept and feel. That doesn't mean this is a bad game, it's just Tetris. A few things that this Tetris game offers is multiple play modes. You can choose Marathon, which is a long-lasting Tetris game, Ultra Mode, which goes to 150 lines, and Sprint Mode, which allows you to race and complete the most lines in a certain time limit. The graphics in the game are appealing and the music is upbeat. The controls can be a bit sensitive. Use the D-pad to control the blocks, and the stick doesn't do anything. With the design of the D-pad, the up button can easily be hit, which causes the blocks to slam down immediately. It can be an inconvenience in a race. Finally, this game does allow you to save your progress on the cart, so you can just come back and play your profile another time. Overall, The New Tetris is a good Tetris game on the N64. The New Tetris is game number 177 for the collection, and the cartridge cost me $15 at a game store, which is probably a little bit on the higher side, but I was just excited to find it out in the wild. And that brings our total up to $8,730. Last and least is Mia Hamm Soccer 64. Mia Hamm Soccer was developed by Silicon Dream Studio and published by South Peak Interactive. It released for the N64 in 2000. Mia Hamm is a soccer game you'd put in if you really want to be annoyed in life. The gameplay is extremely frustrating. While the computer is always on target when it comes to taking the ball from you, many times you'll go in for a tackle only to slightly trip up the computer. The players are idiots. You'll see anything from your own teammate scoring a goal for the opposing team, and you'll see other players run all the way down the field and go out of bounds. The graphics are poor. It's hard to tell that the players are even females. The players also move slow and are choppy in their movements. There is also no music. It's just quiet while you're playing until you hear the occasional crowd roar or the announcer starts speaking. After overlooking these issues, I did find the passing and shooting to be decent in the game. There are a lot of soccer games on the N64, and many of them we haven't covered yet. However, this would not be my soccer game of choice. Mia Hamm Soccer is game number 178 for the collection, and the cart cost me $5. And at $5, that brings our total up to $8,735 for the N64 Complete in Box Quest. Let's get these games on the shelf. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe. I'll be collecting the entire N64 library, complete in box, right here on this show. Also, make sure to leave a thumbs up for Resident Evil 2. Until next time, I'm Wayne, and thanks for watching.